Hey, 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 Fit Mama. Jen Oliver here, your host of the Fit Mama podcast. This is the work in to your workout. Hey, hey, Fit Mama. Welcome to today's episode, part 4 of 4. Yes, you made it. All about freedom. Here we are today, and if you haven't heard parts 1 through 3, it is okay. Keep listening. You can catch up here, and then you can go back, or you can just go back to the beginning and start. Go back to episode 1 of 4, which was 3 episodes ago. And I've talked all kinds of stuff about freedom. And we're really sort of culminating the series today with some action items, some actual to-dos, and a little bit of caution around to don'ts, of course. And I really want to talk about some quotes around freedom, because if you've listened to the other 3, you can probably tell I jump around to subject. I have lots of thoughts on the topics that I talk about, and they all sort of come back to the feeling of freedom, because we are all seeking this feeling of something. I'm calling it freedom. You can call it whatever you want, to see how you go listening to what I've talked about. But I really want to talk about quotes that are out there that talk about freedom, because that is, sort of what the thought on freedom is out there. And I really like this quote. I'm going to start with it, who's from Viktor Frankl, who I was just recently talking to one of my clients about Viktor Frankl, ironically. And Viktor Frankl was a man who was in a concentration camp during the Second World War, which was a horrible thing, as one can imagine. And he wrote a book called A Man's Search for Meaning after that experience. And it was an incredible book. It was one of my favorite books of all time. I've read it so many times, and I read it when I was really young. Well, not really young, but let's say high school. And it really impacted me. So that's over 20 years ago. So his quote is this: "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." Now, I don't know about you, but I got full body goosebumps right now, even though I'm holding a warm drink in my hand. This, to me, speaks volumes. And I'm going to read it again a little bit, let's say at pace, a couple more times. And I want you to really let this sink in. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Viktor Frankl. One more time. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Viktor Frankl. I just love this quote, as you can tell. And I really, really like the idea that there is a space. There is a space where we choose our response. And I've recently been contemplating my own responses to things in life. And I look back in my life and I go, what would I have changed? What could I have changed, right? I don't necessarily do that a lot, because that maybe would be depressing, but I'm kind of just thinking in a reflective way in when I'm thinking about my girls, right? How would I have wanted to things different, or what would I have wanted to know as a young girl such that I didn't make some of the quote unquote mistakes that I may have? And there is this space. It's a really awkward space. And I've talked about it with a lot of people, because there's always this space that is made available for a choice, for love to enter, for conscious response. But we don't always utilize that space. In that space, we hold our fears, we hold our insecurities, we hold our awkwardness, we hold our desire to not have space. So we fill up our days, we go boom, 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 from here to there, we flit about like a little hummingbird, and we don't really sink into the hard stuff. And the hard stuff, that's life. right? And it's not to say that life has to be hard, by no means, but it's making the hard choices where you have a choice and you can respond in such a way that will either push you forward into some type of short-term gain right now, to feel better, to feel like you conquered the other person, to feel like you are more important, or you are more entitled, or you have a reason to feel this way. There's a whole lot of things that we want to feel in a certain moment, in a short-term moment, in that space of discomfort that really sets us back in the long term, though, when we give in to that momentary high, if you will, of conquering another, of giving in, of taking the easy way, of just eating and drinking, of whatever. Right? Without consciously choosing, I want to eat or drink this. Yeah, I want this. This is part of what I want. This is part of what I want to feel like, this experience. And this is what I'm choosing. And that's what I love about this quote, is that in this space is our power to choose our response. And I look back and I think about myself as maybe an 8-year-old or 9-year-old girl like my daughter, or a 6-year-old, and I go, well, was I thinking, right? What was I doing at school? If I was starting a new school. My daughters are starting a new school, grades 1 and 3, or first and third grade, as they call them here in America. And when I was in first and third grade, I went into a first grade school. So I was just like my 6-year-old going into a new school. And when I was in third grade, I was 8 years old, like my daughter, but I was going into the third year of the same school. I had gone to the same school for grade 1 to 4. And that was the longest I'd ever gone to one single school, it ends up, until I went to university. I went to 1 to 4, then I went 5, 6, then I went 7, 8, then I went 9, then another school for 10, 11, then another school for 12, and OAC, which was grade 13 at the time, then university. So grade 1 to 4, this time in my daughter's lives, I was both trying something new and consistent for one of the first times ever, and will be set a foundation for my consistency. And I wonder, what would I have done? What would I have liked to know? How could I be the conscious child, kind, loving, open, talking to people? I was shy. I was painfully shy. My 6-year-old, she does not talk to anyone. And she reminds me of me when I used to hide behind people. And it was, I did not like to be center of attention, and nor do I still, actually, in fact, but I do see a certain benefit of it, as in the confidence that it's given me being a teacher and being in a leadership role has benefited me greatly. So how do I encourage my 6-year-old to be in a leadership role? So for her specifically, we're starting her in a new school that has very small classrooms. She's going to be one of 12 in a class, which is very small. And it's going to be great for her because this is an opportunity. If I had small classrooms, I know I would have been, well, perhaps. I know my grade 4 teacher, I think it was, he used to slap a big meter stick on the desk. We used to have I remember a very big fear response to that. And there was a lot going on, right, back in those days. This was the 90s. And anyway, back to our response. In our response lies our growth and lies our freedom. If I was open to responding in a kind way, if I was taught what is kindness, so I could really understand, then maybe how would I respond differently to someone who was in pain, to someone who was different, to someone who was needing something? I don't know, right? I don't know. All I can do is foster this as I see fit now. But how is her response affected by how things are at home, what she's been taught, what other things are going on? Our freedom is our growth. It is our growth path. And although my daughter is nervous, or both my daughters are nervous for their first day of school, they're excited. They're also very excited. And science has shown now that when you can tell yourself the story of excitement rather than nervousness and fear, that energy within your body, it could be called anxiety or it could be called positive butterflies of excitement, tends to, as my husband calls it, fly in formation. They tend to be coherent, as the science calls it. Things are working in a flow state. It's like waves, right? They're not all crashing in different directions. They're in a flow, in a nice flow. And in our response lies our growth and freedom. And we all have this opportunity for growth and freedom in every moment, because between stimulus and response, there is a space, right? Between us saying we have to plan dinner for this week and us eating dinner this week, there is a space. What are we going to plan? What are we going to do? What are we going to eat? What are we going to make? How are we going to approach it? Is it going to stress us out? Are we going to feel good about our choices? And that's not based on good or bad foods or quote unquote that, which I encourage you to eliminate from your vocabulary. Really be conscious about the space. The space is your power to choose. The space is your freedom, and it leads to your growth. And your growth is happening with or without you knowing it. Like, that's the reality, is that time is flying. You might say that. You might find yourself saying, gosh, time flies. Or when did that happen? Or how did my kids end up in this grade or that grade? How are they already 10, 20, whatever? Time does appear to fly. But the freedom you have, Fit Mama, is to be here now, in those moments from now till that eternity, in that space. Because between the stimulus, hello, I had a baby, and the response, oh, wow, they're grown up and moved out, there is a space. And that space is our power to choose our response. We aren't going to be parents of young children forever. And though that sometimes can bring me to tears and down on my knees, and a real gut-wrenching, heart-wrenching cry, because my babies were the cutest things that my arms ever laid my arms on. I loved my babies, and now I will love others' babies because I will not be having any more of my own. But as opposed to that, what I want my experience here to be with these children, my girls, my loves, my babies, I want the feeling of enjoying this time with them, of experiencing this time with them, of learning along with them. As they go through school, I get to learn. I don't really remember learning first or third grade class activities. What was it? Geography, art? I don't really remember those years of my life. And I do enjoy watching my children as it brings back memories of my own childhood, both good and maybe growth. And my power is to choose. That's the beauty. That's the beauty. My power is to choose my response. So today we're going to talk about action items. I'm going to go through a few more quotes, but I'm going to get into the action items now because, gosh darn, I love giving you things to do, Fit Mama. So I have 5 steps here for you to consider. And these are going to go in the show notes. So don't memorize, don't drive off the road or run into a tree or something trying to write this down. Just be here with me. The first action item for freedom. Okay, more freedom in your life, more feeling of whatever it is you want, whatever freedom is for you, more of it, peace, calm, love, happiness, whatever you want, joy, enjoyable moments. First item to do, slow down. Yes, you heard me. Slow down, Fit Mama. It's not a race to the finish line. You don't have to get the most done in a week. You don't have to be the one to do all the things and be responsible for all the stuff and then be not thanked and annoyed by the whole thing. Yes, I've been to that movie. Number 1 is slow down. choose intentionally what you want your week to look like. What do you want your meals to look like? What do you want your meal times to look like? I did not like eating late. My husband had a job where 2 nights a week he was home at 8, the earliest, 8 p.m. that is. So I would wait up for him sometimes to eat, but mostly I would eat with the kids once we had kids. And he would miss dinner 2 nights a week. And then every weekend or every other weekend, pretty much, he was away. So that was only left us with 2 nights a week where he would be home by 6 o'clock. And then we could have a family meal. That did not jive with my values and my priorities around what I wanted for my children, which was to have dinner with dad every night. So we had to really sit down and say, well, what options do we have to make this a go? Because we can only do this for 20 years, then they won't be here anymore for dinner at home. So then we can dive in and do whatever X, Y, or Z was that we wanted to do so badly back then. But right now it's not going to be that. So how can we make it viable? Can we make it viable? And essentially it was, let's do it because we have to make it happen. So we figured out a way. Slowing down gave us this. It gave us this opportunity. We decided, let's take a sabbatical from your work. Let's step away. Let's take a perspective. Let's enjoy some travel and our kids while they're young. They were 2 and 4, and we took them on a trip around the world, which was such a beautiful experience for us as a family. And really, we all talk about it to this day. I mean, yesterday alone, my 8-year-old was lounging by the pool. We went swimming. We went to a friend's place, which we call the resort. It's just up the hill from us. He was kind enough to lend us his place. He said, go in, enjoy yourselves, and I'll be away. So we, of course, went and enjoyed ourselves. And we were lounging by the pool. She was journaling about her dream travel 2020. I mean, this is my 8-year-old, okay? This is our 8-year-old, my husband and I, and our darling daughters who influence each other in such positive, beautiful ways. And she's writing her dream travel. She had about 10 items on her list of where she wanted to go in 2020 as a family. And this place included places all across the world. I'm going to have to take a picture and I'm going to post it in... I'm going to post it on my Insta stories because honestly, I'm loving Insta stories right now. If you're not following at Love Jen Oliver, me on Insta stories, you're missing out because I am sharing seriously everything on Insta which is my kids, which is my California adventures because I've moved here. It's sharing my new connections, my new affiliations with incredible humans doing amazing things on this planet. I found myself in incredible spots, and my kids and my husband and I are thriving and we're having such a great time. And it's all due to these 5 steps that I'm sharing with you today, Fit Mama, because number 1 was slow down. We were going at a massively fast pace. My back injury was one of the first impetus. And if you haven't read the Love Fit Mama Way or listened to all the podcasts yet, to go back to number 1, start from the beginning, hear all the podcasts here in the Fit Mama podcast, because honestly, Fit Mama, I know that they will connect with you because I've been where you are and I am where you are right now. We are one and the same, Fit Mama. You and me and you, we're feeling it. We're feeling this Fit Mama lifestyle in whatever level, whatever way. And we're hearing it together. And it starts with you slowing down and trying less, not trying more. Because that was huge for me. And I was trying so dang hard. And then my back hurt. And then I couldn't. Number 2 is stop and think long enough that you really connect. Like really connect, Fit Mama, with what you want. Not what you think you should want. Not what you think others expect of you to want. Not what you thought when you were this age you'd want, but what you really want. But what you really want. Stop and think. Number 3, feel in your body. This is the byproduct, again, of this loving back injury that I created for myself and now have recovered from through core rehab, through all my Fit Mama workouts, through understanding how the core works. If you have not, and must check out my core rehab video on Love Fit Mama on YouTube. I'm going to link it up in the show notes too, because understanding how your deep core works is power. And the minute you can start to feel in your body again, and this includes getting really connected with yourself, Fit Mama. And, if you haven't gone back to the earlier podcast, or if you haven't listened to the sex series yet, that was a 4-part series or 5-part. I had my husband on there. We talked sex. We talked everything very intimately. I won't go into here and now, but go back, because once you really feel in your body, like really feel, it's next level. Like it's your command system. Like my body, I used to think that my brain was so smart. Okay, I value education. You know me, I value statistics and data and all the goods. But I didn't really value my body independently of my mind. It was like I could will my body to do anything, I thought in my mind, until my body reared its beautifulness and said, no, I shall command the pace at which we do this. I am the lungs. I am the heart. I am the nose to breathe every day. I am your eyes with which you will see, and we shall together experience this life. And ignoring your body, and the great sages and historians have found, and all the religions have found, that forsaking your body and, branding it or fasting till you died or whatever really wasn't the path to enlightenment. It really wasn't. And so forsaking your body isn't the way. It's befriending, it's loving, it's connecting, it's feeling what would or could this best case scenario feel like each and every day. Here in my body, feel it, to come to know it. Number 4 is imagining 5 years from now. And I do this exercise with a lot of my clients, and I've done it many times on the podcast because visualizing is such a powerful piece. And I talk about it in the Fit Mama book. And, that book is coming out on audio, which I'm super excited for. But this is particularly important here, is to imagine 5 years from now. We have this moment, this space between stimulus and response. We could do whatever. We could just reach for the thing. We could just eat the scraps off the kid's plate. We could just eat cold pizza, or we could just, maybe you love cold pizza. It doesn't matter what it is. It's, I do this. I notice myself, like in the moment, I will say, no, I don't really want that. And then later I will want it because I've denied myself it in some way. So what I've started to do is befriend my body and go, okay, how does that feel if I had that? And then sometimes I want it and sometimes I don't, legitimately. But then I imagine 5 years from now. And how will I feel 5 years from now if this is a consistency? If I'm just eating the cold scraps from my kids' food, if I'm just eating burnt popcorn, or if I'm just eating out every day, how is my body going to feel 5 years from now? Because my kids will grow exponentially from now till 5 years, it will feel like. And I don't really want to age a whole lot. I really want to preserve this body as it is right now. So what can I do that's supportive of that? And I've been talking recently with my friends and my family about health, which we always do because my friends and family are all very health oriented. And we do talk about how we can enhance our health. Okay, is juicing, important? Do you eat smoothies? Do you supplement? What is your routine? What is your this? What is that? And, we talk about collagen. We were talking about gelatin. We were talking about all kinds of different things recently. And I want you to just imagine 5 years from now. Right? If you go on stressing the way you do and furrowing your brow as you do, this is something that I notice myself now when it's sunny every day where I live. I find myself squinting if the light is bright or if the window's open. I haven't gotten shade still in a couple of places in my home. So it's really bright. And then I'm wearing a lot of hats to cover up my forehead and wearing a lot of sunglasses, but I find I'm still squinting. And I'm going, okay, I'd like to preserve this. I'm not going to be obsessive about it, but I'd like to preserve my skin healthily. So I'm consuming a lot of healthy fats, which are really good for the skin. I'm really being mindful about my routines around my skin such that I feel like I'm hydrating enough topically. I'm oiling enough with oils that are healthy all over my body. And I'm imagining my skin 5 years from now. I'm imagining my kids' skin 5 years from now. I'm imagining all of us 5 years from now as my children go through puberty, crazy times. How can I support them in that? So I want you to just really slow down. Number one, stop and think. Number two, number three, feel in your body. Number four, imagine 5 years from now. And number five, what may be hard, but I know I can do it. Mic drop. What may be hard, but I know I can do it. I want to talk about the freedom of being comfortable, right? And there's two sides to that coin. I want you to go back to episode 3 of 4, and I talked a lot about being comfortable in the clothes you're wearing, particularly in the size you're wearing, in that freedom around being comfortable saying no, setting boundaries, living by your priorities and your values, not somebody else's. Freedom to ask for what you want in this life, this short life. You know, I said the other day, life is short. And we kind of have this family joke of life's too short to eat burnt popcorn, for example. Life's too short to eat cold eggs, my husband says, because my kids will forever take to eat their eggs. And then you won't want them anymore because they're cold. I don't anyways, but he will eat them. And, you know, the freedom that comes with realizing life is short. You know, my daughter heard us say life's too short, and she said life isn't short. And I appreciated that because it really isn't in some of the grand scheme of things, but it is in many, like 100 years, right? We look back in history, 100 years is but a blip on the radar. And 100 days from now is 3 months, and that seems to blink by as well. So the freedom to stand for what you believe in during this one life we have, the freedom to live the one life that you have. Live by the priorities you set, not the ones others set for you. Live by the boundaries that you set, the values you like, right? What makes you feel good? What do you value? It's important to question that. And the minute you question that, Fit Mama, you become the leader by choosing to set that example for your children, for your family, for those that look to you. And ask yourself, what may be hard, but I know I can do it? What may be hard, but I know I can do it? Because I know you can do it. And when you know you can do it, that's all that's needed. That is it. That is the recipe to follow. That is the ingredient list. Believe in yourself. That's the important piece. So ask yourself, what may be hard, but I know I can do it? For me, it's around self-care to do with my skin. As I mentioned, I move somewhere it's sunny all the time. I wear a lot of hats. I wear a lot of sunscreen. I wear a lot of things. Clothing that covers up, protective. I protect myself. And yet I can see already through the appearance of a light tan that my body's being exposed to the sun. So imagine 5 years from now. And for me, imagine 15 years from now. And it's not about the physical appearance. Again, if I can see it on the outside, what's happening on the inside, depending on what I eat, depending on what I drink, depending on what I experience in terms of stress and what I interpret as negative stress in my life that is very influencing how my genes are expressed, right? And the world of epigenetics, if you want to research, is talking all about that. And it's super fascinating. So I encourage you to go and check that out. I'm going to finish this episode today, Fit Mama, with that Viktor Frankl quote again. And I encourage you to actually go and Google some quotes on freedom because they are quite inspiring. Here again, Viktor Frankl. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Viktor Frankl. Remembering those 5 things, Fit Mama. Number 1, slow down. Number 2, stop and think. Number 3, feel in your body. Number 4, imagine 5 years from now. And number 5, what may be hard, but I know I can do it. That is one simple question to end with, and it does require courage. As Coco Chanel puts it in one of the quotes I wanted to read to you, all about independent thinking. So what may be hard, but you know you can do it. You know you can do it. It's not easy. And Coco Chanel here says, here's the quote, the most courageous act is still to think for yourself aloud. And now freedom of speech is a freedom, true freedom in the name of the game here, that we have more than ever before in a simple medium called social media and so many other ways, such as this podcast here, to share with you. And you get to share yourself in whatever way possible. You can be your biggest expression of yourself in standing for your values and inspire other people. And that is a beautiful opportunity for you, Fit Mama. What may be hard, but you know you can do it. Have a great day, Fit Mama. Namaste.